Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Before we get started with business, our Commonwealth in Eastern Kentucky overnight was devastated in several parts by flooding. I don't know if Virginia Craft is headed that way.
She's on her way right now.
She's on her way from our staff. I know our county fire and our city fire has joined up with Taylor County Fire and have sent boats down this afternoon. So we have staff down there. And I would just ask everyone to join me in a moment of silence in support of those folks that are hurting and homeless tonight and struggling. So if you'll join me, I would appreciate that very, very much. Thank you all. This time I'd like to ask Stacy Hamilton to call the roll.
Mr. Hostetler?
Present.
Mr. Lyons?
Here.
Mr. Wallace?
Here.
Mr. Corman? Mr. Ellison?
Here, you can hear me. We've got you.
Mr. Davila?
Here.
Mr. Livingston? Mr. Marshall?
Here.
Mr. Culbertson?
Here.
Judge Covington?
Present.
I'd like the record to reflect that tonight, prior to our meeting, we swore in our new member representing the 6th District, Mr. David Dovlin. Welcome, David. Glad to have you, and look forward to working with you on the court. So, got that handled. Mr. Dovlin was appointed by the governor to fill the unfinished term of Tim Thompson. So, with that said, I will turn now to something that's very important to me. And on a personal note, I'd like to extend my deep appreciation to Rand Marshall for putting up for a rookie county judge and having to handhold me quite a bit. And then, the hours that Rand has spent on so many issues and topics, and the leadership he's provided has been nothing but stellar. And he has been a true public servant. His heart has always been that of a public servant. And, any man that can spend the hours that he has dealing with subjects like the landfill and such, and navigating us through so many different issues, I felt like it was very important that the court make a proclamation in support of all your years of service. So at this time, I'm going to read a proclamation. Now, if I'd had the money, I would have had the band Night Ranger here, Rand's favorite band, and we would have played Sister Christian. But we're going to read this proclamation honoring Rand Marshall for dedicated career of service to the Scott County Attorney's Office. Whereas Rand Marshall was born and raised in Scott County, Kentucky, and whereas Mr. Marshall joined the Scott County Attorney's Office as an assistant Scott County Attorney on June 17, 1991. And whereas Mr. Marshall has served as Scott County Attorney since June 1, 2017, and is retiring from that position on August 1, 2022, after serving Scott County for 31 years. And whereas Mr. Marshall has served Scott County in many important ways, including by advising fiscal court, prosecuting crimes, and helping victims, and whereas Mr. Marshall has maintained a private law practice providing legal service to numerous individuals and organizations, and whereas Mr. Marshall formerly served as Sadieville City Attorney and as the Scott County Georgetown Parks and Recreation Board Attorney, and whereas Mr. Marshall has been married to his wife Kim for 21 years and is the proud father of Reese Marshall and the stepfather of Aaron Aldred and Evan Sharp, and whereas Mr. Marshall has been guided throughout his years of service by his Christian faith and is a member of the Tates Creek Presbyterian Church and leads a weekly independent men's Bible study, and whereas Mr. Marshall has provided pro bono legal representation to various individuals and organizations and has served on the boards of Providence Christian Academy, Trinity Christian Academy, and the Amen House. And whereas we will all celebrate, I'm making this up now, we will all celebrate when his beloved Dallas Cowboys bring home the Super Bowl. We will all celebrate.
If we live that long.
If we live that long. Now, therefore, let it be known that the Scott County Fiscal Court and Judge Executive Joe Pat Covey hereby honor and praise Rand Marshall for his long career of distinguished and dedicated service in the Scott County Attorney's Office and congratulate Mr. Marshall on his retirement.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You deserve a standing ovation. Now, would anyone of the court like to add anything? And then we've got to get a picture. And then
You
Rand,
ask my wife for a second opinion about all
would you like to add anything? But could we get a picture, and then maybe if anyone would like to make any comments, snide remarks. We'll go down here and take a picture.
Okay.
That's right. I guarantee it.
right, you ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, I got 4. There we go.
Oh, yeah. You had to serve, too.
Bless her.
Go Cowboys.
Cowboys, all right, Randy.
Now, Cam, it's all on you.
Yeah. I am history now.
Now, Rand, we haven't. Would you like to share anything? You have the floor. If you don't want to, you don't have to.
I'd like to. I can.
All right, brother.
Okay.
You're about like me.
Yeah.
I can't do it either. All right. We truly appreciate your service, and you're on your own.
You enjoy it. I'll be home.
We'll try to be quick.
It's like keeping there.
Yeah, I just jinxed us. So with that, we'll go to minutes of our last meeting. Those have been presented via email. Are there any questions or comments related to those minutes as presented? Motion to approve as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from Mr. Wallace. Any other questions or comments?
Judge, I'm going to recuse myself. I wasn't here for the meeting. So.
Mr. Hostel will recuse. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I'd like the record to reflect that Mr. Livingston is now in attendance. Good evening, Mr. Livingston. Next, number 5, the transfers as presented. And Rick and I have discussed there's one transfer in there particular that our fabulous treasurer is going to give detail on the requirement.
It's just a simple transfer. When we set up the county clerk storage fund, which is a whole new fund starting this year, we were not given any direction by DLG of where the appropriation line item would come from. When we received the information from DLG after the start of this budget year, they had asked us to, instead of using function-specific equipment and supplies, to in turn use the indexing line item. So we took the money from the function-specific equipment and supplies and just transferred that into the appropriate line item.
Thank you for that further explanation. Are there any other questions or comments on any other transfer?
Judge, just one comment. Thanks, Michelle. That when I'm sure I'm not the only one that saw it, but that was a big number, 175,000 plus, and I didn't understand that, but she's explained it well, and it's just really just kind of a line transfer. So, but anyhow, thanks, Michelle.
All right.
Motion approved.
Motion. Is there a second? Second from Mr. Davila. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 6, bills and hand checks. Any questions or comments related to those that were shared in your packet?
Motion approved.
I think, okay, we've got a motion. We have a second. Alvin, were you going to make a motion or were you going to have a question?
Yeah, I was making my motion.
All right. So we've got a motion. We've got a second. Any other question or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll now go to Resolution 22-08, and it is approving the interlocal agreement. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this resolution, for any of these interlocals, a resolution has to accompany it, and it has to go to DLG. So that's why we're doing this today. Do you have that summary, or do you have Cam Culbertson's going to read the summary or read the whole resolution?
Resolution, Scott County Fiscal Court number 2208. A resolution approving an interlocal agreement between the City of Georgetown and the Scott County Fiscal Court for the establishment of the Office of Affordable Housing and Homelessness Prevention and authorizing the County Judge Executive to sign all relevant documents. Whereas the Scott County Fiscal Court has considered an interlocal agreement between the City of Georgetown and the Scott County Fiscal Court for the establishment of the Office of Affordable Housing and Homelessness Prevention, and whereas the county wishes to approve the agreement and authorize the judge executive to execute the agreement, and whereas KRS 65.240 requires the authorization to be memorialized by ordinance or resolution, and now therefore be it resolved by the Scott County Fiscal Court as follows. Section 1, that the interlocal agreement between the City of Georgetown and the Scott County Fiscal Court establishing the Office of Affordable Housing and Homelessness Prevention is hereby approved in substantially the same form as the attached agreement. Section 2, that the Judge Executive, Joe Pat Covington, is authorized to execute the interlocal agreement and any relevant documents on behalf of the county. This resolution approved by unanimous vote of the Scott County Fiscal Court on the 1st of July, 2022.
Thank you, Cam. Are there any questions or comments related?
Does it say the first?
Yeah, I guess that should be edited to the 28th.
Any questions or comments then? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Wallace. Is there a second?
A second.
Second from Mr. Davila. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Judge, I'm a no as well.
All right. So should we do
It said unanimous, so it probably needs to
Let's do a roll.
do a roll call.
we'll do a roll
do a
call.
count, yeah.
All right. Stacy, will you do a roll call, please?
I will. Mr. Hostetler?
No.
Mr. Lyons?
No.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Ellison?
Yes. Do you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Okay.
Mr. Davila?
Yes.
Mr. Livingston?
Yes.
Judge Covington?
Yes. Okay.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We'll move to number 8 and ask JR to join Mr. Mudrack if he'd like to. But this has been a challenge, and I think you all have had some success. But Mr. Mudrack, you're going to be up here for a little bit.
I am.
So I'll let you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge. Thank you, magistrates. Yes, we have the pleasure of presenting to you 7 new hires and 1 promotion. And I'll start off with the road department first of all, and we'll just approve these as we go here. First of all, as an equipment operator laborer, we are recommending Brian Catt, effective August 1st at $19.95 an hour. Brian has more than 10 years of related work experience and holds a CDL license, which is very beneficial to us. And then just as of today, we were able to find our last road crew laborer, Clayton Berger. So he will be joining us sometime next week at the pay rate of $15.60 an hour. He's been doing some working with a family business here lately and will be a great addition to us. So, and if I can, I'm going to slide one more in here into this group if I could, our custodian here in this building.
Let's do the road,
first.
and then we'll do the custodian.
Okay, we'll do that.
JR, you got any comments?
I appreciate all of Jeff's hard work on helping get these candidates in here, and we got a full crew now, so we're going to get this lure abate in our program.
We'll pin our ears back and go at it.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
But, you know, JR's team has been so busy this summer, uncharacteristic with all the storms and having this other staff member, or those staff members will help tremendously. Any other questions, comments?
Motion.
Motion from Rick Hostetler. Is there a second?
Second.
second from Dr. Wallace. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Jeff, go ahead and talk about our custodian here at the courthouse.
Okay. Well, Jared and I have had the pleasure of working together to find a custodian, and the fellow we were recommending is Jeff Pendleton. He will begin effective August the 15th at $15.60 an hour. The very positive thing, he has 7 years' experience working as a custodian with Fayette County Schools. So Brian Free, as you know, did a great job of taking care of the building, but we're looking forward to what Jeff Pendleton can do for us now going forward. So I present that recommendation to you.
Any questions or comments? Motion from Mr. Lyons. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Rick Hostetler. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we will talk about animal control.
Yes. On behalf of Sherry Bishop, pleased to recommend Brianna Thompson as an animal care technician beginning Monday, August the 1st at $15.60 an hour. Once again, we're able to find another candidate with a lot of good work experience. She has more than 5 years' experience working with pet care and care for animals, working as a groomer and as a vet tech, things of that nature. So I present to you Brianna Thompson.
Any questions or comments? Would there be a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion from Mr. Hostetler. Would there be a second? Second from Mr. Lyons. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion's approved. And then finally, we will go to EMS new hire, and Chris will join Jeff to discuss these recommendations.
Here we have 3 new hires, and also I'll go ahead and talk about 3 new hires, and I'll talk about the promotion at the end, and we'll cover all these in one motion. First of all is Roby Pope. He's coming to us as a paramedic beginning August 23rd at $18.41 an hour. He's starting with a little bit higher pay rate than normal because he has 20 years of related experience in the field. So once again, I think it's an indication our pay structure and compensation strategy is paying off and being able to recruit good qualified people. He has been working as a paramedic most recently with Appalachian Regional Health Care. So that's the first, Roby Pope. Second one is Bradley Cole as an EMT beginning July 30th, so just this Saturday. It's the first day of the pay period at $12.47 an hour. He recently obtained his EMT certification. If I'm not mistaken, he was part of the program you put together? Yes. Okay, all right, so he graduated from that and has been working with the division here on a part-time basis for the last month. So that's Bradley Cole. Very much like Bradley Cole, we have Shelby Nolisher as a full-time EMT beginning July 30th at the same rate, $12.47 an hour. She was most recently working as a volunteer at the Stafford Gun Fire Department. She also participated in the EMT program and has been part of the EMS program for the past month. And the last one I have to share with you, we're also very pleased that we're growing our own talent here. Madeline Williams has recently finished her paramedic certification, completed the program. She got her associate's degree, and now obtained her certification as a paramedic. So we're very glad that we're able to promote her to paramedic. Her pay will increase to $15.78 an hour starting July 30th. And another positive thing is she's also one of the people that participated in the education program we put together, and she's one of the people under the contract right now, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of good things, I think.
Mentioning that 2 of these individuals are part of our own initiatives to provide education opportunities right here in our own programs is awesome, and speaks volumes about what we're doing. And Chris, would you like to make any comments about any?
Judge, good evening, court. Just what Jeff echoed, that, we talked up here probably a year or so ago about trying to grow our own, and that would be a long-term solution. And I think from the support that you guys have given us, it's showing the dividends of that now with these 2 new full-time hires, and plus Madeline getting her paramedic. We have our next EMT class scheduled to start August 11th, so we'll just keep Keep turning them out.
And that will be held in conjunction at ECS.
Mm-hmm.
And then along the lines, while I've got you, Chris and I attended a meeting this week with BCTC, and it was their paramedic advisory council, and I'm going to be on that council. And Chris showed up late, and he ended up being the chairperson. So that council will advise our paramedic program that we're working in collaboration with at BCTC. That will advise that program. So we're moving forward.
We are. Yeah, it's exciting.
What questions or comments does anyone have?
A quick comment, Judge. I was impressed with the experience of several of the candidates, and especially some of our homegrown, as you're saying, and the young lady Shelby. I don't want to butcher her last name, but
Noschler.
Noschler. I was impressed with her background in a few short years. She has really worked hard in stamping ground from the appearance of her resume, and that's pretty good on her part.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments? Motion for Mr. Hostetler. Is there a second?
Second.
David Livingston with the second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Thank you all.
Thank you.
I will now move down to number 11, Project Change Order Soccer Complex. And I want to point out something that Rick pointed out that we need to get clarified. The $19,913 is the correct amount for this change order, required change order. This change order is the result of revisions requested by GMWSS that impacted layout, added roadway excavation, remediation, and GMWSS will own the line after it's installed. The pricing requests additional work and remediation material cost increase. So that's the correct number. Originally, I had shared this with you, and it was like $23,000 and some change. But luckily, the materials came in time, and we did not have to pay that additional monies for remobilization. And I see JR shaking his head in affirmative. I think I've got that right.
Yes, sir.
So that's correct. But we do need to clarify. They've got some totals on here underneath for the total project. It's like a running total. And I do want to note that we need to get those numbers confirmed, the correct number. Is that what?
It is, Judge. And for your info, that's on page 1 of that email we got when you open it up. I'm sure there's a clerical error somehow, but when you do the math with the numbers that's on here, they're actually somewhere around $400. They're shorting themselves, and I'm good if they want to stick with that, but I doubt that they do. And it's probably, the best I can tell, there's about a $400 error there.
But
and it's in our favor, but I don't think we should leave it that way.
No. Stacy and I will reach out to Rob Price tomorrow and Ramona with Element, and we'll get that clarified. What questions or comments does anyone have about this proposed change order?
Well, one other comment.
Yes, sir.
You and I talked about this as well, and you gave me a number because in your introduction in this email, you talked about there will be another fee coming after the line's installed and so much time has gone by.
30 days. We have to wait 30 days once the installation's complete.
Yeah, and they have to test it, and you said that that's going to be an additional fee, and I was wondering why they hadn't, already given us a set number, but you said you asked about that.
I asked about the number, and they estimated it to be around $2,000.
So that was my question
Yeah.
on that. And
But there's camera inspection and then a mandrel test. JR, am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
And essentially what that does is it runs down through there, and if it catches anything, if it clips anything, that it it kicks back, and they have to go and dig it up where it hits.
Yeah,
You probably know better than I do.
I've seen it done.
So that is the rest of that story. And before we consider a vote, I'll give a short update. The grass out there is unbelievably came along great. The rain has been the timing of the rain's been a blessing. JR's already had to mow it a couple times, or at least once, and we're talking about doing it a second time. The plan is to go back out there this fall and do another sowing and try to get it really established well. The building is got sheeting on it. They are completed the sheeting, I believe, and are working on they'll be working on the hardy backer, I think, next. But the project's moving along. I think it's going to be a very nice addition. Any other questions or comments about any of that out there?
Judge, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is the project on schedule?
No, it's behind.
It is?
Because of rain and then supply chain issues. One thing that is not going to be there until the end of October is it's called a switch gear. And Rick,
Still don't have that? Wow.
they have tried every way, but the switch gear, and Rick helped me explain what a switch gear does, but you can't turn the electricity on if you don't have the switch gear.
That's the main piece of the puzzle.
And they've ordered it a few months ago, and they keep checking. They've looked at other vendors. That thing will not be here until October sometime.
Let me ask you, is there a penalty for being late, or?
And no, because we gave them so many days of they into the contract. There'll be so many days for rain, and then also, the significant completion date was, yeah. So, I'm comfortable and confident that the project's moving along in a manner that's appropriate. Okay. And they've documented all the rain days, and JR and I have met with them every week or every 2 weeks. And I think they're moving as quickly as they can with the rain and the supply chain issues. And I'll be honest with you, it's my opinion that the best thing for that project is once we get substantial completion and we come back out there and sow the seed again, that we just stay off of it until next spring and let it really establish.
I agree.
So,
Just one other comment. Even though they've given them a date of late, did you say late October?
mm-hmm.
I mean, hopefully that'll hold true, but don't be surprised. I
Yeah.
mean, don't let it shock you
Yeah.
because it's out of that electrical contractor's hands.
Yeah.
Any of this material for any trade.
Mr. Younger and he's as good as there is, and
I've talked to him, but we experience the same stuff.
yeah. So, is there a motion to approve?
Well, I'll do it.
A motion from Rick Hostetler. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Chad Wallace. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Board of Adjustments reappointment, and that is Mr. Darren Dillo. This is one that kind of just slipped on us that we've needed to do, and he is currently serving and would continue to serve, and I think he, from all accounts, is a valuable member of the team. Is there a motion to approve? Motion from Mr. Alvin Lyons. Is there a second? Second from Mr. Wallace. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll now go to number 13, and it's our bid for our intense outpatient program, and we put bids out, and I'd like to share the bid that came in from Isaiah House as my recommendation to move forward. It was the only bid, but Isaiah House has a strong reputation in this field and has been involved many, many years. And the staff that they will provide will be very, well trained, and they'll have targeted case manager. They'll have peer support specialists, an APRN. They'll have a program director and an office manager. I believe that what they're proposing will meet the needs of the whole person, and they'll also help people find jobs and get job training and get back to work as well. I would like to ask for any comments from any court members or any questions. Brian Privet is here, and Kevin from the Isaiah House, and they can answer any questions that anyone might have, and then I'd ask them to make any comment as well if y'all would like. Their bid essentially requires from us is to support the program with the monthly lease, the same that was there for the prior program, and then the utilities as well, and that will be in the same building as in Indian Acres Shopping Center that housed the previous program of Shepherd's House. What questions or comments does anyone have?
Judge, this is the 1 year with a 1 year lease.
The lease.
I'm sorry, not the lease. The contract that we entered in with Isaiah's house.
The original contract we did with Shepherd's House was for 2 years, I believe, with an option to continue. I would not want to do anything less than 2.
With the same option to opt out
Yes.
after a year.
Yeah.
Have we already given them notice, Judge, yet?
I have spoken with Chad, the owner, and our lease actually runs through. I've got it right here. Wait just 1 second. Our lease runs through 8/31/22. Monthly gross rent was $3,358.66 plus the utilities. So that would be all that we're required. The other piece to this that will continue, I believe, will continue to be supported is the grant from our partners here with SCAD, and that will help offset the cost. So, I think this proposal's a good proposal. I think it will really help members of our community that are struggling with addiction, that are finding themselves in the legal system.
Just to add on, and I think probably everybody's seen it in their proposal, but they do take that holistic approach, and even to things like, I think they're partnered with Campbell's University, and so those folks that are participating, especially in their long-term programs, some of those folks are coming away with some college credits, if I'm not mistaken. So it's pretty awesome, as well as job education, and they find them jobs, and there's quite a bit that they provide. It's a pretty good size program.
I think one of the key parts is having a liaison that's in court, and that'll happen as well, and a liaison that will work with our detention center as well. So any other questions or comments?
Judge, I had a question for Brian or whoever.
Brian and Kevin, would you all come up and introduce yourselves, and Chad can ask a question, and we appreciate you all being here, and thank you.
We love coming to Scott County. I'm Brian Privet. I'm the Government Public Affairs Director of Isaiah House now. Y'all probably know me from my previous life. This is Kevin Horn. He's the president of Isaiah House. He's my boss, so he's going to talk.
It is a privilege to speak with you, and I commend you on your service. So I do. So Isaiah House has really been in operation for 20 years as it's been incorporated. I've been with Isaiah House since 2012. I've seen a miraculous amount of growth over the last decade. We're across 9 locations. We serve about 142 to 150 residential clients per day. We have about 150 in aftercare. The things that we would implement here are not new strategies for us. Actually, it'll be much easier to implement what we currently do here just because of this place has many more opportunities as compared to some of the more rural counties that we operate out of. I don't want to get into the proposal. It's a large proposal. I want to respect your time. But it will be nationally accredited, which means that CARF, very similar to Joint Commission for Hospitals, it will be accredited through them. It'll be state licensed, so the OIG through the AODE division will have annual surveys. So there's actually 2 sets of governance as compared to some other places that have 0. Evidence-based practice is where we stand. A lot of the things that make us a little different than other treatment programs are all of the ancillary services that we do, which is the job skills, soft skills, training, the employment, removing the transportation barrier by transporting people to and from work until they're able to save up enough money to get their own vehicle. We're a true nonprofit, so we're able to utilize funding that most people wouldn't use for a free service just because that's our mission. One of the other great things is we do have all levels of clinically managed SUD care within our organization. If someone is incarcerated and they need to go to residential treatment, we have 3.5 level ASAM accredited residential programs that they can seamlessly go into. We can transition them through that program and into the Scott County program. Just a few notes that I wrote down whenever you said KCTCS, Judge. So we do currently have a certified welding program at Isaiah House. We also have an arrangement with them where some of their professors will come in on a quarterly basis to provide an intro to psychology, intro to business, intro to public speaking. A lot of our people want to engage in formal education. We would prefer them to engage in that while they're in our care. That way we can help support them through that and they don't go, take out a bunch of student loans, they drop out of school, and then the next thing you know, they're in the same shape that they're in, plus they have defaulted loans. We have HVAC beginning in the spring of 2023. We currently have a collaboration with KCTCS that provides certificate programs to our staff and our clients, and they actually modify those courses, make it more conducive to someone that's in a recovery program. So we've worked through that. Maintain transportation and gainful employment for approximately 150 individuals in aftercare. If anyone here is a logistics expert, they know that can become a very challenging thing. But it's just something that we do. It's crucial for our people to be independent and successful. SUD and co-occurring disorders should be treated by professionals. Paraprofessional staff that provide the support and the ancillary service to that are a crucial piece. All of their services should be on a treatment plan that's signed off and completed by a licensed therapist, by a nurse practitioner, by a medical doctor. But implementing the life skills, soft skills, job skills training are a critical piece that many treatment centers don't address thoroughly. Achieving the clinical and medical stabilization is often the easy part for us. But whenever you're really trying to help someone and support them become independent and successful and prosperous, we have to find what their purpose is. Our tagline is hope, healing, opportunity, purpose, employment, and education, and that's what drives us as an organization. And fortunately, Scott County has a lot of resources. My wife asked me about a month ago. She's like, "Why are you so interested in Scott County?" It took me back to when I was about 20 years old, And a lot of my family members, a lot of my friends that didn't want to go in the coal mines, I'm originally from eastern Kentucky, were like, I'm going to Georgetown, I'm going to go work at Toyota, or I'm going to go work at a factory. Well, I've kept up with them, and they all have great lives. You know, they have prospered here. They have done extremely well in this county. And I firmly believe that we can make the same thing happen for the people that are coming out of the jail, for the community members that you have that are struggling. I firmly believe that we can make that happen. Yes, there'll be some failures along the way. That's part of what we deal with. But at the end of the day, you'll see more positive outcomes than negative.
I certainly appreciate the work you all do. And any other questions or comments?
I can't remember the gentleman's name. I met him several years ago. He came through your program and then was on staff, but he's recently, if I'm not mistaken, attained a PhD from Campbellsville.
Oh, probably Jason Root.
Jason Root, that's the name. So I just want to, I hope he doesn't mind me sharing that. I don't think he will.
Yeah,
but
he does. I actually have permission to use his name, so yeah.
Well, I met him probably 6 or 7 years ago when he was on staff, and he'd been through the program, and his personal testimony is pretty awesome. But I just wanted to mention that because I think it attests to what the program does.
Yeah.
I know they've been around. Would you say 20 years?
Yeah, 99 is when it started. It was incorporated in the late 2001.
Yeah. So anyhow, that's the kind of program that's there and it's available. And obviously, not everybody's going to go through it and come out of it the same, but that's the hope is that they prosper. Whatever that looks like for
Dr. Roop is actually the one that's helping us implement the HVAC program, so it's...
Jason is?
Yeah, it's been a blessing. Yeah. I graduated Isaiah House in 2013, so I definitely understand it from both sides of the fence.
Kevin or Brian, either one can answer this. The current lease we have is an Indian Acre Shopping Center. It's in a commercial area. And the county, and Brian may know this, that we're looking at, and we're moving closer toward building a new sheriff's office, and with the county clerk house in there as well as the Justice Center is going to be located. It's going to be relocated. This is a 2-year agreement that we're going to make with the Isaiah's house. In the future, thinking about some of these potential the square footage that may be open, are you all opposed to being in one of those government buildings that the county owns currently? I know that's predicted in the future, and there may be an argument of why you need to be in a more commercial area. I'm just curious about your thoughts on where you house your program at.
I can't say that I'm opposed. And I can't say that, yes, that would be a great idea. It revolves around a couple things. We would want adequate parking. We would want the ability for the program participants to have access to whatever that they need around there, whether that's the transportation to get there, whether that's them not necessarily coming into the police station as where their program's at. So, it would just depend on where it's at. We're not opposed to moving or going wherever it's most beneficial for both of us.
Well, no way has this court committed to anything. I'm just thinking long term of those possibilities. And if in the future there was available space, that there could be a relocation there, if there would be any opposition to that.
I think we'd be pretty easy to work with.
Any other questions or comments? Along the lines of the space, Brian mentioned to me that they would like to consider possibly seeing if the owner of the space would be willing to let them look at building a couple offices kind of on the side wall of the big back room of that spot, and said we could certainly pursue that with the ownership. So I'll let you all know as we talk about that.
I don't know how many of y'all have been over that space, but it's pretty much just like a big entryway. Then you got a big, huge group room, and you got a couple of small offices. Well, our model looks like your doctor's office. You're going to go in, there's going to be a waiting area, you're going to have some professional offices, and those are your exam rooms, you know. So you think about like a kind of a hallway with professional offices where they can meet, and then a group room where they can do IOP and group sessions. So I think from what I remember, and Kevin's not seen it, so he's kind of going in blind, but we used to have drug court in there with 60 people. So I can't imagine it wouldn't be big enough. We would just need to make it functional, to have privacy for the therapists when they talk to their clients, and to have privacy for those IOP clients, and to make it. One of the things that I've learned about coming to Isaiah House is what they look at is how therapeutic something is. And if you put somebody in what looks like a professional environment where they believe that they're going to professionals, they're treated like people by these professionals, and you're going into some place that looks just like a regular doctor's office, it's much more therapeutic than just kind of a group room where you have meetings or something.
We'd look at the, talk with the owner and then see how to navigate. But in my opinion, that's something the court should consider, the fee, the cost for that.
Well, I was told that the barbecue place opened over there, so me and Kevin may run by there too.
All right. And that's something could be maybe built into the lease. I don't know. But we'll navigate that, and I wanted everybody to know about it. Any other questions or comments? Motion. Is there a second? Second for Mr. Lyons. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Very good. Now, we got one little bit of other business. Isaiah House is a nonprofit.
Yeah, Judge, I'm going to ask, if you're talking about the grant,
yes.
I'm going to withdraw that. We decided that after looking at that, after we talked about it, that it wouldn't be a good match for Isaiah House because of sustainability.
Okay.
So if you're going to ask him to give you permission to sign that letter.
I was going to do that.
I would withdraw that.
All right.
Because we're not going to apply for it now. Anyway.
But we certainly understand that we need to support, if there's and this grant had no match with it.
Mm-mm.
But I'm the one that always brings everything to the court. And if you want to withdraw that, that's no problem.
We
But
would love
I
to
want
reserve the right to.
No, we understand.
Yeah.
And we are, we want to be aggressive when there's money available that could help our community, especially that doesn't have a match.
Right.
Yeah, we have a large resource development team. We have a large SAMHSA grant, large Appalachian Regional Commission grant. So I assure you that there will be some more opportunities coming our way.
No.
We're always looking to partner with you all.
We look forward to working with you, and then I will give you the contact number for the gentleman that owns the building, and then I'll call him as well, and then we'll navigate it from there.
Sounds good.
But the lease will be in your name, but we will pay that.
Okay.
That was an arrangement we had prior.
Okay. Great.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. It's good to see you all.
Hold up, Bob. We got a motion, we got a second. I thought we said all of it.
Yeah.
I'm not losing my mind. We'll give you a pass, please. Now, fire department uniform bids. John, would you share your recommendation to the court? Yes, sir.
No, he hasn't. It's on top.
Yeah. Judge, Magistrates, thank you all. We recently went out to bid for our uniforms, the rights for our people to go out and spend their uniform money on a certain vendor, but we sent that out for bid. We had 2 companies respond to that. After a review of everything, it would be our recommendation for you all to approve us to use Galls as our uniform provider.
And that is based on just all the different things that are that could constitute a uniform.
Right, like,
The price listing was significantly lower with Gauze.
That's correct.
As compared to the other bid.
right. The only difference is currently the majority of our uniforms, what I have on, shirt, pants, is made by Blower. That's the vendor or the brand of this uniform. Kentucky Uniforms is the only company in our area that has the rights to sell Blower. So, we looked at everything, compared, and basically we would be moving away from wearing Blower uniforms because of the cost. For example, these pants that I wear, Blower pants, they bid $80. We can get similar pants just like these for about $55.
Who did you recommend?
Gauze.
This is new for the fire department. They've never bid out their.
Yeah, and that was one thing, since I've been there, and that's what I ask, if they've ever bid out this, because to me, you bid it out, which enables you to get the best prices, because if a company knows you're going to continue using them year after year after year, what's to stop them from just gradually increasing prices? So we bid it out. Based on what they bid is,
How many responses did you get?
2. We got a response from Gauze and Kentucky Uniforms.
Any other questions or comments? Motion from Mr. Lyons. Is there a second? Second from Mr. Wallace. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Chief, for saving us money. I like
Yeah.
it.
Now, number 15, nonprofit agreements, capital requests. I have shared those agreements with you. Those agreements stipulated exactly what they were going towards, and then also stipulated that in the event that the nonprofit ceased to function and with the dissolution of their assets, we would be able to get those those capital allocations back. I've shared that with the Amen House, Gathering Place, and Elizabeth Village. All of the directors shared that with their boards and were positive feedback with those agreements and would sign those agreements and approve those agreements once the court considers them. So are there questions or comments about any of those 3 agreements?
Judge, I reached out to Cam this week because Rand's a quitter. And
good move.
And Cam said that there would be some legal action that we would have to take to get that, recur that money. And Cam, if you want to.
You would ask if there could be a situation where potentially a lien could be placed on the property. I don't think that would be the case. I think what would happen if, in the unforeseen event that this did happen, when these entities ceased to exist and we were going after our money, I think we'd have to file a lawsuit and then and get a judgment and then hopefully collect on that, and we could file a judgment lien if needed. That would be the process. But again, that would hopefully be a very remote possibility and not something we would.
But this agreement helps us in that circumstance.
Yeah, it's essentially a promise on their part to reimburse the county. So.
And we'd hope that would never occur, but I think it's wise to put any of this on paper.
Right. To try to protect them.
Now, my question is, do we need to approve those individually?
I would do that.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Would there be a motion to approve the agreement with the Amen House?
Do we have to read it first, or?
You want to read the whole thing?
No, we don't.
Well, no, I didn't know. It's a question.
No.
We don't have to read it? Okay. I'll make a motion for approval for the agreement for the Amen House.
Okay. You got a second? Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And that will lead us next to the Elizabeth Village Agreement. Is there any questions or comments related to that specific agreement? Would there be a motion to approve? Mr. Lyons, the motion to approve the Elizabeth Village Agreement. Is there a second?
Second.
Second for Mr. Davila. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And then third, the Gathering Place Agreement. Any questions or comments related to that? Would there be a motion to approve that one?
I make the motion.
Mr. Davila with the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Wallace. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. So with that said, those approvals will allocate $500,000 to the Amen House, $250,000 to both Elizabeth Village and the Gathering Place. Thank you all. As we navigated through that, we are documenting our ARPA monies through revenue loss. And 10 million of our 11 million can be documented as revenue loss, thus enabling us to use those for general functions of government expense. The other $1 million, Michael George and Compass Municipal Advisors, they have recommended that if we move forward with the EMS station as we have planned, that $1 million would be easily eligible to qualify for ARPA funds. So, yes, sir. Yeah. So, I believe those three organizations help a lot of people, and I think the community will support and appreciates the court's actions tonight on that. Number 16, lease renewal, Veterans Affairs. This is an ongoing lease that we have supported our veterans in our community with, and the city reimburses half of that, correct, Stacy? So I think this is something we need to continue doing. Are there any questions or comments about that proposed lease agreement? Motion from Mr. Hostetler. Is there a second?
I second.
Second from Mr. Davila. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We will now move to Ordinance 2207, first reading. Now, before we dig into these three, is one we're going to have to table, or will we
I think you go ahead and do the reading, and it's a very minor change that Mr. Lyons.
Is it 2209?
7.
So it's on 2207.
Correct.
And the specific question is the table about what is permissible and what is not in different zoning.
Mr. Lyons, do you want to say what
The
you're...
way it reads, the way I read it, if I'm not misinterpreting something, that ordinance would put the people that are running bed and breakfast out of their farm, like some of the horse farms do, they run a bed and breakfast, they would be in violation of that ordinance, the way I read it. So it needs some clarification to make sure that, I mean, that's not the intent, I'm sure. It's just,
I think what you were, correct me if I'm wrong, but the term unhosted sharing.
yeah, there's three categories in that table, and the unhosted sharing, bed and breakfast are excluded from that. That's the only one that's allowed in the A1 or A5 districts. The other two categories are more what would be considered bed and breakfast, but it's prohibited there the way it's written, so.
If I deleted bed and breakfast establishments from unhosted home sharing.
That would probably, yeah, I think that would
So
rectify
I
that.
would plan to do that.
Okay.
Everybody's okay with that.
Okay. So will you read that summary for 2207, Cam?
Yes, sir.
And let me say, Cam, he jumped in on these. because they were
Because I quit.
because Rand quit. But there's been a lot of work, and Cam, thank you for stepping in.
All right. Ordinance number 22-07, an ordinance amending Article 2 of the Georgetown Scott County zoning ordinance to define short-term rentals and unhosted home sharing and provide zoning requirements for short-term rentals. Summary. 1. Establishes definition of the terms short-term rental and unhosted home sharing and deletes a portion of the definition of family to correct an inconsistency with other zoning code provisions. 2. Provides that all short-term rentals shall be registered with the Georgetown Scott County Revenue Commission. 3. Creates Section 2.58, which defines the zones in which short-term rentals are permitted, conditional uses, or prohibited. 4. Provides for repeal of inconsistent laws, severability of provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication. Full text of this ordinance is available for examination at the office of the Scott Fiscal Court Clerk, 101 East Main Street, Georgetown, Kentucky. And the first reading is today, July 28th.
So any questions or comments related to that 2207?
So just to clarify, Judge, because I've gotten these complaints about Airbnbs being in certain neighborhoods, and some neighbors aren't too happy with this. What this essentially does is if they got an issue with it, this will establish that as long as they're registered with the Revenue Commission, as long as they're paying their transient tax, these things are allowed, and that's their enforcement mechanism, is they can make sure that they're compliant with the law. But as far as keeping people from doing them, it's part of it.
I think there's personal property rights, and this is a practice that's done all over the United States, and this is getting us in line with many other counties and cities across the state, and this mirrors the city of Georgetown's ordinance.
Right, and I'm in agreement with it, but I actually had a phone call yesterday about it, and I said, we're going to pass this, and this is, or most likely we'll pass it, and this is the enforcement, so. Okay.
I've not heard from anybody, but I've been out of town for the last week. Have you heard from, anybody else heard anything from even folks that own these places? Because I know there's something going on already.
Yeah. I mean, I think we'd all be surprised at how many of these exist in Scott County that you really don't know about. And, if you look on Airbnb, if you look on Expedia,
It's over 200.
yeah, I think there's over 200. So, this.
Well, I was just wondering, also, back from those folks that actually own. I may know several people, but I'm only aware of one person that I know that actually has something.
And, the people that are doing, this business venture from their property, this will just simply be passed on to the consumer that's from out of town. And, it's like you go to the hotel, you have to look at the number of different fees that go on there.
Well,
So.
That's one of the reasons that drove my question, because we've actually done this. We did it last week in Georgia. We did it last summer in Georgia. And some of the properties, and when they, in various places, when they tacked on all the fees, which is a lot of that turned us away, and I didn't know if that was,
But I think what we're proposing is pretty minimal.
What came from me was, it was from HOA, and in their deed restrictions, they had in there, like, no rentals, and, that's up to them.
But that's up to them. And
they just asked if the county had any type of laws
so this
in
won't
place.
override it.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad.
Anything else there? So we've approved 2207, correct? No. All right. It's getting late in the evening. So is there a motion to approve 2207? Motion for Mr. Lyons. Is there a second? Second for Mr. Hostetler. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll now go to 2208, first reading. Summary.
Sorry, sir. Scott County Ordinance number 2208, an ordinance providing requirements for the operation of short-term rentals within Scott County and amending Ordinance 2006 to provide for appeals. Summary. 1. Provides that all short-term rentals in Scott County must register annually with the Georgetown-Scott County Revenue Commission and defines the circumstances under which the director may refuse to issue or renew registrations or revoke registrations, creates a mechanism for appealing a revocation. 2. Establishes the procedure and fee for the annual registration. 3. Requires that short-term rentals maintain compliance with federal, state, and local laws and regulations, including the obligation to remit all local taxes to the Revenue Commission and Tourism Commission. 4. Defines the duties of short-term rental hosts and requirements for advertising on hosting platforms. 5. Establishes a timeline of 90 days for all parties to achieve compliance with the ordinance and provides for enforcement and penalties for violation of the ordinance. 6. Provides for repeal of inconsistent laws, severability of provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication. The full text of this ordinance is available for examination here at the office of the Scott Fiscal Court Clerk, 101 East Main Street. Introduced today, July 22nd.
Any questions or comments? Would there be a motion to approve 2208? Chad Wallace with the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Davila. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That'll move us to ordinance 2209, first reading.
Ordinance, Scott County, Kentucky Ordinance number 2209. An ordinance regarding a recreational tourist and convention commission and the transient room tax and amending Scott County Ordinance number 0807. Summary. Amends ordinance number 0807 to clarify the name of the Georgetown Scott County Tourism Commission and provides for consistent use of this name throughout. 2. Affirmatively states that the transient room tax is applicable to short-term rentals, provides that the transient room tax shall be due to the Commission 20 days after the last day of each month, sets the percent interest on delinquencies at a full percent, and authorizes the Commission or its designated agent or employee to examine the records of facilities subject to the requirements imposed by the ordinance. 3. Provides that the Commission may place a lien on property to secure unpaid transient room taxes and take other authorized action to collect the tax. 4. Provides for repeal of inconsistent laws, severability of provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication. The full text of this ordinance is available for examination at the office of the Scott Fiscal Court Clerk, 101 East Main Street, introduced and publicly read the first time today, July 28, 2022.
Any questions or comments? Would there be a motion to approve 2209?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Davila with the motion. Is there a second? Mr. Wallace with a second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all very much. We will bring that back at our next meeting for a second reading, and we'll go from there. And then we'll reach out to Joe Kane to clarify that as well. And then new business. The only piece of new business I have is to ask for your approval. We have had a billing discrepancy with Republic Waste Services, and they have agreed at what we proposed as a dollar amount to settle that, and that amount was $45,686.55. That's what we proposed previously, and I would like your consideration for approval on that. Motion from Mr. Lyons. Is there a second? Second from Mr. Hostetler. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Does any court member have any new business? Mr. Hostetler.
I was contacted back around the 4th of July, and I was in the last meeting, about a fireworks ordinance did the county have one, so since the quitter is, I don't know if we do or not. I think there's some state laws that we probably may fall under. I don't know that, but I think was it you and I that had a short conversation, Rand?
Yeah, it seems like I've had a couple of people ask me, and yeah, we do not have a county fireworks ordinance.
Well, and so one of the folks that in the district that I serve contacted me, and I think the same issue came up with the same folks involved last year and maybe the year before. And some of the neighbors are using some rather large fireworks, and apparently they're going way up, hundreds of feet.
Where'd they buy those, you know?
I wasn't going to ask that, Rand.
I would draw the question. I'm pushed out the door now.
But the issue is this, and they asked me to share it, so I'm going to do that. The issue was when they explode, they're not staying in the person's yard that shoots them off, and so when they impinge on somebody else's property, and the debris coming down in their swimming pools, on top of their houses and their campers and in their yards, and the surrounding neighbors. So I don't know if we want to consider something. I don't know. I wanted to bring it up. I was asked to bring it up, so that's what I'm doing. I don't know what the state has already in place that we may fall under. I asked Cam if he wouldn't mind to assist me and kind of look that up. Sure. Maybe start there if we want to do anything at all. I wanted to bring it up to you, Judge, and the other members of the court.
You may add in on this. I had this question brought to me about 3 years ago, I believe, and I did some research into it. I talked to Tony, the sheriff, first, and he said that in the event that there was an ordinance passed, that this would be a low priority call. So that's how he would respond to that if there was an ordinance that was done. The city currently has a noise ordinance that, and I think it clarifies for fireworks is on around the 4th of July and on New Year's. But you and I both know they shoot them year round.
Well, that was another complaint. That apparently these folks like to celebrate quite regularly throughout the year, and they did mention could we even talk about a time frame? So
Rick, are you interested in what the city has and what Chad said is pretty much correct? They have a time frame when they are allowable and when they're not, and then is that what you think we should do?
Well, we could look at it, yeah. And Chad brought up a nuisance. I think that's the word you used, and we probably already have something along that line in the county, maybe.
Not with noise. Not with noise.
We have a noise ordinance.
We do? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, some of those things. And I had a conversation with the sheriff recently, during the fourth weekend when it was all happening, and he kind of told me the same thing. And I get that. And the folks that have contacted me, they're not opposed to the celebration. It's just that it goes on more than just the 4th, and it's usually lengthy into the wee morning hours, it sounds like. So I don't know what the solution is, because I don't think they want to stop people from celebrating.
Yeah.
It's just that when the debris comes down 2 or 3 yards away.
I would, I'd ask Cam and we'll look into what the city has and then what the state has, and then share that, and then we can go from there.
With the one time I had to deal with the state on an issue, some guys out on Cane Run blew up, and Mike probably remembers this, they blew up this big pumpkin, and it shook people's houses, and windows were, I don't know.
Was this Halloween?
They shot a commercial for something out of Louisville, like a Pumpkin Palooza, and
It was a huge
and it was huge.
Yeah.
And at that point, they got into it. ATF got involved because
But that wasn't normal fireworks. This
no,
was like
no, it was like
C4.
yeah, that's right, that's right. Yeah.
They say where they got those fireworks.
Well, it was some kind of deal where farmers can blow up trunks off for trees, and they just added a little extra. And anyways, but that's the only state regulation where that regulates all that. So.
All right.
Brown, is he involved?
Any other new business? Would there be a motion to adjourn? Motion, is there a second?
I second.
Second. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.